Well, thanks so much. And you might remember last week we had Sister Damien here with us, and she's joined us again this week on This Is the Day. Thank you so much, Sister, for being back with us today. Actually, we talked a little bit about creation, the Salt and Light series that we're playing here on Catholic TV, but thought we could talk to you a little bit about your background, too, and your love for the environment and what made you sort of get into this field.
Yeah, and I guess it wasn't maybe pre-planned as much as just the unfolding of life, I think, but as a child I was always outdoors and I really loved creation. I think I developed a heart for creation even at that young age. And then when I was a child there was the first Earth Day, and I remember asserting to my parents that I was going to walk in this Earth Day parade or this Earth Day walk, and so I did that. And then when I went on to college, I think I found that I actually was kind of naturally good in science, so I went that direction, and my heart was in it because I really cared about creation. So when Pope Francis talks about that the suffering or the degradation of creation should be a cause of suffering for us, that I understand that, because I think my heart just sort of went out to what was happening to the created world, to beautiful places maybe that I had seen that were no longer the same. Yeah. And so I wanted to help. And I'd say it was actually sort of the source of my own religious vocation. I think it led me to my religious vocation.
What's it been like for you? Because you've been involved in this for so many years, too. Now, and plus the Pope's emphasis on it, too, do you find people are being more receptive of the message that, you know, things need to be changed in the environment?
I would say yes. I mean, it has gradually grown. For a long time, I always felt we were kind of on the fringes in one sense within the church. I think it was a difficult thing for persons to understand. So this really helps that the church has articulated what's really been there since the very beginning, since the patristic fathers really had a great interest in creation. So I think, and the Pope is saying it's not a negotiable. I mean, to care for creation is not an optional part of our Christian experience, our Catholic experience, he says in Laudato Si. So I think people are coming around to that. We have a lot more work to do, and the separation that is happening with young people, for example, who are so separate from creation and don't experience it, I think we have to bridge that so that they can develop a heart for creation, which is what happened, you know, in my case, and I hope that we can bring that experience to other young people.
Are there any particular things, Sister, that you feel are the priorities? I know just here in this country, too, with the water contamination in Flint, Michigan, too. Well, what are some of the, I guess, the hot spots in environments right now?
I actually would say for me, water is extremely important. Yeah. We have both water quality and water quantity. And so, yes, really, actually, if you think of it, only 2.5% of the water on this earth is fresh water. And of that, a lot of it is tied up in the glaciers, so less than 1% is available to us for use. And we can't live without water. So that kind of understanding helps us to realize we better really care for it well. So when we are polluting it, then that less than 1% really becomes a priority. And the fact that there's so many people around the world who don't have enough water, I think in the next 20, 30, it's already happening now, but in the next 20, 30 years, that is going to be a huge priority. Both here in the United States, but certainly around the world. We already have the issue in many places around the world. And it's the source of political tensions, and many wars are fought over water. So as Time magazine put it a few years ago, water is the new oil. Yeah. And I would agree with that.
And of course the Pope made the connection in Laudato Si too about, and this is one of the main issues too, about the environment and the connection to the poor as well. And maybe if you could speak on that too, and some of the other things that affect the poor through the environment.
Yeah, and of course this is a really complex question, and it's very good that he emphasized that. And I think we have to remember that in the Catholic social teachings of the Church, the universal destination of goods is one that all of creation is God's gift, and it's a gift to all of us, not just to a few. So if some are not getting what they need, then it's our responsibility to try to rectify that in the way that we can. And it's kind of stunning, the statistics, that there are 1 billion people suffering from hunger around the world, and there are 1 billion people suffering from obesity. And so the gap between the poor and the rich is really widening, and we have to narrow that. And I think when the Pope speaks about it, he's speaking about the fact that Christ is the poor in our midst, like that Christ is that poor person that we are all called to care for. So the poor are Christ in our midst, and we are called to minister to them. Some accuse them of being responsible for environmental degradation, and yet they don't have the education that they need to care for resources in the way that they need. They are the most directly impacted by these issues because most of the poor rely directly on natural resources for their own living, right? For their own economy, their own way of living, their own food. And I think another point too, when multinational corporations go into other countries, developing countries, to harvest resources, if they're taking the resources out of the country, then the local people aren't benefiting, and it intensifies that cycle of poverty. So if there's a way that could be worked on so that the companies actually benefit the poor when they come in.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sister, for sharing with us some of your thoughts and to tell us about this great series that we have on creation, a great series through Salt and Light Television as well. And if people, we're going to be playing it here on Catholic TV, but if people want to check it out, they'd go to Salt and Light?
Yes, saltandlighttv.org/creation.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sister, for being with us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you as well. I'm going to send him back to the rest of This Is the Day.